And welcome to the Factor Uncensored. Thank you for joining us. It's not just you. Toxic workplaces are stressing people the hell out. According to the nation's Surgeon General, all of that stress from work can actually impact your health. Vivek Murthy says, quote, more and more workers are worried about making ends meet, dealing with chronic stress, and struggling to balance the demands of both work and personal life. Do you feel like you can relate? My first guest has some help for you.
Now, what we typically don't get from the Surgeon General of the United States is how our work environment is. And now they're saying, according to the Surgeon General, that the work environment could be toxic and harmful to employees. Explain that for us out there.
Yeah, I think that that's probably not new news. I think that point that the Surgeon General is making is really proof positive of how a lot of these issues were living just below the surface, but have been exacerbated or brought to the forefront by the pandemic. And so, me personally, I'm super grateful that the Surgeon General has amplified this message and shined a light that's long overdue on what a toxic environment or what constitutes a toxic environment in a workplace, and provided a framework for how we can address many of these issues.
Now, do you think we're seeing that toxic environment at work because now we're returning with clear eyes, having peace of mind, being at home during the pandemic, and now many people who no longer can work remotely, they're back in the office, and they're seeing things differently now?
I think I definitely think that's a component of it.
And as a result of there being some legitimacy to a toxic work environment, what would be your steps to fix things? I would think, number one, it starts with the employer first.
Yeah, the employer is responsible for establishing the ecosystem or the environment for which employees, flourish or not. And ultimately are accountable for it. I think each employer has to look at this as a strategic initiative, much like they do other initiatives within their business that allow it to flourish and succeed, and provide opportunities for employees to continue to grow the workforce. I think so. The employer has a responsibility, a need, and a financial incentive to look at what are the needs of their workforce, where there might be some gaps, and look at possible solutions in the marketplace or things that they can do internally or bring in from the outside to support their employees to really, I think, lean into and address and acknowledge that these things might exist, the potential for a toxic workplace environment, and what are steps that they can take to minimize the impact of that and or improve employees' experience, the employee experience as a whole within the work construct that they've created.
Now, Jesse, as an employee, how do you know the difference between having a job you just hate and despise or a work environment that's toxic? Because either way, you don't want to go each day. But how do you know if it's just you and you just hate your job or if it's a toxic work environment?
I think there may be a little bit of a litmus test to help to determine that, but admittedly, it would be potentially difficult for an employee. I would say that'd probably be something you'd want to address on a case-by-case basis. Could it be the employee themselves who might be struggling with something in their personal life as well that may be contributing to how they're perceiving things at work? Now, having said that, I mentioned a sort of a litmus test as a first run, and that an employee can take in evaluating what's going on at their workplace. And first and foremost is, are they providing protections? And by that I mean, broadly speaking, a place where they feel like they're safe, not just physically, but emotionally. Are they protected from maybe some folks who may be going through some other issues but are integrated into the workplace? Are they providing opportunity for advancement and growth? Have they exceeded their boundaries in a personal and work-life balance, and is work-life bleeding into personal life? What would what one might perceive to be out of the ordinary, getting messages late at night, emails and things on the weekends, asking for people to sort of perpetually going above and beyond, a lack of growth, a lack of connectedness, a lack of purpose. If you can sort of take some of these 5 or 6 things and push them up against what your experience is within your own workplace, and the answer to some of these becomes no, I don't have these things, then you probably have a toxic environment.
For an individual who may experience and work in a toxic environment, what's the long-term impact on the individual mentally and health-wise?
It's certainly going to be different by individual, but we do know scientifically that the mind and the body are inextricably linked. And so as a person is exposed to stress, it could lead to anxiety, it could lead to depression, it could lead to very real health issues down the road, like incidents of heart disease and other chronic conditions that ironically employers are focused on, because those are oftentimes what drive costs for them. So the irony is that by creating a toxic culture, you're actually contributing to healthcare costs, which is a line item that employers are working really hard to manage and control, and investments in behavioral mental health, and are just creating a not toxic work environment, can really get at those factors that they're trying to solve for.
And for those who may be in that toxic work environment, would you recommend getting another job, or demanding or asking management to make a change, to take a look at the workplace and make some assessments and determine if, it is unhealthy for the workers there? Or, like I said, number one, just quit, find a new job.
That's a great question. And I think that there is, the idea that the grass is greener on the other side may not always be the case. And right now, one of the main topics that I see throughout every employer that I talk with, one of the things that they're laser focused on right now, particularly in this inflationary environment that we find ourselves in, coupled with the pandemic environment, is recruiting and retention. They are trying desperately to find ways to retain top tier talent.
Yeah.
And it's becoming increasingly more difficult to attract top talent into their organization, and there is a cost to that chief financial officers understand at a granular level. And so I would encourage an employee to start with raising the question. You have nothing to lose per se. If you're already out, you've checked out mentally, you have nothing to lose if you're worried about backlash. And in fact, if there were any sense of backlash for raising that issue, you're probably in a toxic environment.
All right, Jesse Gomez with Williamsburg Therapy Group. For those who would like to get more information on your group or information about you, where can they go?
We on the web, williamsburgtherapygroup.com.
All right, sir. Thank you for joining us, and we appreciate your time